that my future isn't odd enough? Is it cause I think your music is innocuous? Or because I don't accept what they offer us? Deception is obvious and popular opinion makes decisions for the youth. They would rather be entertained instead of listening to truth. While market and psychology manipulate your elements, selling you an irrelevant product of unintelligence. Tell me to dumb it down, I tell you to smarten up. The revolution is now, the ending will start with us. The signal we're sending out encourages waking up. Executives look around, it's harder to make a buck.
Good morning. Good morning. I am trying something new here in case you did not notice. So if you are here live with me, I am trying this with StreamYard to see if I can go live on Substack as well as YouTube. So let me know if you are here with me and if you can hear me well, because again, trying new things. All right, let us see. If you are new here to me, I'm going to try to turn on these comments so I can see. All right, awesome. That's on. Okay, if you are new here with me, then welcome. I'm super excited. If you are not new, thank you for coming back. Again, this is something that I'm trying as we grow and cultivate and move through and start new things. But let us begin with, hi, I'm Desiree B. Stevens, and I pathologize the system of whiteness. This is my podcast called Let's Have the Conversation. And basically what we discuss here are the ways to dismantle supremacy culture in various ways. Recently, I have been discussing Charlie Kirk, white womanhood, the call coming from inside of the house, right? Talking and discussing about how the race war is actually internal, not actually external. And what does that look like when you are trying to build community, dismantle all of these systems at the same damn time, and how difficult that could be. So this morning, the whole goal for September was supposed to be to have a really good time talking about the Gilded Age. I had a great time binging that show, and I have tried to keep up with that theme for this last month. And so this morning, I discussed the feigned victimhood of white wives, right? And tied how from the Gilded Age, from like suffrage up until the KKK, the women's KKK, all the way up into Erika Kirk, and how you're holding the both and of those realities of what it looks like to be both victim and perpetrator of patriarchal violence against oneself and others. So today we are going to have our 3 talking points, because that's what we do. Hold on. I'm going to have my coffee. So we have our 3 talking points. And before we get into that, I want you to ground yourself into this moment because it is really heavy. Mondays are always open to the entire public, where Wednesday is closed to paid subscribers. Monday is about being open, bringing in more community, being more equitable and accessible. And Fridays, I've started a little Friday with friends. So if you'd like to join me and have a conversation, I am super duper available for that. So anywho, let's get into this moment. Take a short breath, check in with your body, right? Orient yourself to the room, to the space, to the moment, and let's get into it. This live builds on my latest article where we trace white womanhood from the Klan to Erika Kirk. It's showing how innocence is a performance that both sustains and devours, right? Patriarchy. So 3 talking points. That is my style. That is what I do. 1, white womanhood as the patriarchy in pink. 2, Erika Kirk and the fragility of innocence. 3, beyond the binary, matriarchy and men's liberation, right? Because when we say all need to get free, all. And when we are talking about systems, we have to see how they are interconnected and everyone is impacted by these systems. Yes, that includes the men. I know that activates so many people. But I'm like, they need to get free too, right? So let's get into it. White womanhood as the patriarchy in pink. White women weren't just passive victims. They replicated patriarchy through auxiliaries, rituals, and teaching children that still exist today, right? When you are talking about, divine feminism or white woman feminism, there is a very, why it does not take for other people is because white feminism is quite literally about becoming white men. There is no two ways around that when you decenter whiteness and you are asking for other people to see how white feminism is received and perceived. It is wholly about how can you become the top tier oppressor? How can you be equal to your partner, which is white men, which I can understand inside of whiteness, how that seems like the right thing, right? I do not want to be under his foot. I want to be equal to him. But when you decenter whiteness and you look outside of that, then it becomes, how can I, be equal to him and oppress everybody else, right? And that becomes one of those pillars of supremacy culture, which is the power over instead of power with. So that is where the problem comes, and where white women will often find the pushback to white feminism, where, there's been other movements of intersectional feminism or womanism, where it's a complete different lens. It's actually a dismantling of the pyramid of patriarchy and supremacy culture and moving into more of a circular care for community, for children, for men, for women, for they, them, for all of the people. It is a care for the earth. It is circular, as is nature, right? When you think about, the Fibonacci spiral or anything else in sacred geometry, it's often circular. So the reframe that I offer inside of that is innocence does not equal neutrality. Those are not the same things, right? Like it becomes a mask for being complicit, right? If we only look at the women of the Gilded Age through the show, if we only see them through the lens of white woman innocence, we start losing them as complex people as well, right? It devalues them as women navigating a time like that. Like, what does it mean to be a woman tied to a man's legacy solely, right? What does it mean that your entire livelihood is hinged upon what a man says about you, right? We saw that in the Gilded Age, when the young woman was trying to get married and she was like on proposal number 2, and Auntie was like, listen, check this out. Do not let the third one fail, because otherwise you're just going to have to be stuck alone, right? And she had very real concerns, right? She did not want to be married to someone she didn't care about or didn't love. And then, the final partner whom she actually did love, she wound up not wanting to be engaged because of a lie. And all of these things are moral and right and make sense. But when it's tied to, white women being innocent inside of patriarchy, it actually loses the complexity of her as a person too. So it is disempowering. So as white women, when you're turning around and you're looking at like, where's your empowerment lies, it lies in accepting the both end, the perpetrator and the victim of, right? So it is not about, oh, I'm so innocent in this, because that you're actually complicit in it, right? So when we move from the Gilded Age show, because that was an amazing show, and then we move forward into history and we see, I went from suffragettes, which was present in the Gilded Age, to the women of the KKK. They were like, we want to play too. Like, why are the men folk just able to gather and talk about social ails and issues and, keeping America great again, right? They wanted to participate in those same structures with their men. So they created the women of the KKK, which then, the hand that rocks the cradle sort of thing. Now they're teaching their children, and this keeps going on and up until, I'm trying to bring that through line up into an Erika Kirk, right? Where it's like, oh, this woman lost her husband and children lost their father. And that is true. Multiple truths exist. Very specifically, when we're talking about decolonization, you have got to be willing to release the binary. Multiple truths exist. So yes, that is true. But she is not just some innocent woman by the sidelines standing by her man. This woman has her own podcast, her own merch, her own platform, and has now been thrust into the position of CEO of Turning Point. What does that look like, right? And then as soon as she gets a little bit of power, right? So like that's that proximity. That's what patriarchy offers. Like, oh, you have some proximity to power, and now this person is out of the way, so you can get it. So they're going to use her tears, her pain, and they are going to make her a victim of this violence and, deify and make her husband a martyr. But in that same breath, whiteness devours itself. And it will turn around and it's like she was trafficking kids in Romania. She was a Miss pageant for whatever with Trump and what have you. And so you could see the both and the victimhood and the way they will idealize you and put you on this pedestal and then completely denigrate you and make you a problem. We are now focusing on her more than we are focusing on the president of the United States also being a human trafficker and pedophile. And it's so interesting to watch from the outside looking in. And I'm like, God, we are just caught up in that war that's inside of whiteness. So that is what this article that came out this morning and this live is talking about. It's digging into that victimhood, that both and the complexity of. So the reframe that I offer here, right, was the innocence is not neutrality. It's a mask for complicity. And the reflection that I would like for you to take is to ask yourself, where have I mistaken equality with white men for liberation instead of dismantling the whole pyramid, right? And that is an important question to ask oneself, right? Because this is going to be that part where you start dismantling and decentering whiteness. And you start really recognizing, oh, wow, I have been complicit, right? And this is not about shame. I don't do that. I find shame to be a useless emotion. I don't even believe it's a real emotion. I fully believe that it is a construct built out of Christianization. There is no need to be ashamed. Accountability does not require shame. It requires awareness, right? And willingness to confront those truths. Super simple. So with that, hand on heart and belly. So you're going to notice like that split, that truth inside of you. And you're going to recognize that you're not either innocent nor guilty, right? They need to be released from the body, right? Opening yourself up to those multiple truths and releasing that binary. That is what I want you to do. Talking point 2, take a sip of your drink, whatever that may be. I have some coffee. Yes, I do. Pumpkin spice latte. It's my joy. We're coming up to Samhain. It's October coming. I'm so thrilled. The weather is absolutely perfect. Okay. Talking point 2, Erika Kirk and the fragility of innocence, right? So when you're looking at this and how I talked about, she has a merch line, she has a podcast, she has this rallying cry after her husband is dying, and then boom, here goes these allegations, they're resurfacing. I want you to really sit with that as a reminder that patriarchy will absolutely put you on a pedestal and then punish you at the same time, right? It is this non-consensual situation that is happening. And nobody asked you to put me on a pedestal. I'm a whole human being. And then you'll put me on a pedestal and then punish me. Systems of whiteness are non-consensual. That is the truth. That is the fact. It doesn't ask you anything. It doesn't ask you if you're white. It doesn't ask you if you're a woman. It doesn't ask you if you're Christian. It doesn't ask you, if you are queer. Nothing. It demands of you. It tells you what you need to be. And if you are outside of that construct, cis, health, wealthy, Christian, able-bodied, male-centered through patriarchy, all of these very finite rules, then you are on the outs of it. And you can be both victim and perpetrator, specifically as a white woman. So the reframe that I want to offer there, I try to keep this thing to half an hour. So if I'm rushing through it, I'm sorry, I was already late this morning, so I'm just trying to move through. So the reframe that I offer here is patriarchy doesn't protect white women, it consumes you. Right. So there is this idea that white women often, when they step outside of that alt-right white womanhood construct, they want to come over to this other side. And they're like, all women, all of us together. And I'm like, pause. It has always been all women. It is that you are sitting on the outside of the birth canal of whiteness, which is the alt-right. And now you are basically homeless, right? You are on the outs. And so you're looking for a way in. But community is not to be consumed. It's not your last resort. Like, oh, well, now it's all of us. Let me in. Absolutely not, right? It kind of reminds me of like the Big Bad Wolf, right? And the Three Little Pigs. And it's like, I'll help and I'll up and I'll pull your house down. And the pigs have been preparing, right? They have been doing things and building their home and storing their goods. And here comes the Big Bad Wolf demanding entry into the space that has been being prepared. And the pigs have always been hunted, right? And all of a sudden, here comes this big bad wolf that wants to get in, and it's like, you can't do that, because that is extraction from community. What have you put into community? What have you dismantled? What have you worked through in order to be safe, deemed safe by those who have always had to be safe from you, right? So asking yourself those sorts of questions, right? And to reflect on, where does the pedestal and punishment show up in my own life and community? These are questions to ask yourself, specifically as a white woman when I'm talking. Because you deserve to be in community, right? But leaving supremacy culture, leaving patriarchal framework is similar to leaving a DV situation, right? I fully expect for people to fold back in. It takes about 7 times on average for someone to leave a DV situation, because there are not parallel systems built. There are not spaces that are created to fully hold that. So you are asking the 72% of white women, like, you're blaming them. You're saying, oh, you stood by your man, you did this and other thing, you voted for Trump. Yeah, because it has worked for thousands of years to stand by your man, right? It's the both and not creating white women spaces and community and safety for them to learn to move away from there if they are feeling trapped by patriarchal confines, for not allowing men to come into that space. Often I task white women, I'm like, offer white men the same grace Black women have offered you for generations. You have not always been woke. You have not always been left. You have not always been down with the man in the system. That's a lie. You just have not. And in order for you to get there, there was a lot of labor that had to happen at the cost of lives generationally, and grace given freely, willingly. And what we're asking is that you do the same to your folks, right? That is creating community, dismantling the barriers between you guys to create safe spaces for them to leave, to exit. You want them to be able to exit that space, then you have to create the spaces for them to come to, and not demand access to spaces that have already been created to protect us from all of you. I hope that that's making sense, right? So again, the reflection there is, where does the pedestal and punishment show up in my own life and community? And the grounding exercise for that is feet pressing into the floor, and you repeat, I can hold complexity without collapsing into binary, right? And you repeat that over and over again. And when it comes up, where it comes, that either or, again, one of those 15 pillars of supremacy culture, that is what you hold yourself with. I can hold complexity without collapsing into the binary. Talking point 3. I'm going to take another sip. I think you should too. Beyond the binary, matriarchy and men's liberation. Listen, one thing I have learned in this decade of work is white women do not want to hear about white men getting free. And I do not understand it, because I just don't have that feeling about men that white women do. And I do understand it. Again, right? It's that both and. It's like, yes, but you have also been fucking and feeding them for thousands of years. So maybe these are your sons, your brothers, your fathers, your uncles. Maybe you could find them worthy to also be free from patriarchal reign, right? The way I do. I just want you to sit with that possibility. I know that it's difficult, but sit with that possibility. Take a look at this person that you're married to, and be like, is there some salvation? Is there a space where they also belong in the ecosystem of liberation? Look at your son. I don't look at my son and dislike my son. He's amazing, and he is the future of what we are co-creating here. Look at your son, and is he not worth liberating him from patriarchal systems? So get into that. Men may feel threatened, right? I recognize that when you say matriarchy, right, this is, I could hold the truth that what happens is men start feeling threatened, like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's not a replication of the patriarchy. It is not the patriarchy in pink. It is not women sitting at the top and men underneath. It is a dismantling of the entire fucking pyramid scheme, because it's not working for all men either. It's damn sure not working for Black men. And it's not working for all white men. Like every white men who feel like displaced millionaires and they see themselves more as Bezos than, John at the Family Dollar is wild work to me. But, that is part of that entire mind fuck of supremacy culture, right? Like, no, you too, you could bootstrap, buddy, work harder. But honestly, white men are the ones that are committing suicide the most. So it can't be that great inside of there when I'm looking at it. So I recognize that men feel threatened when they hear matriarchy, because they assume what it means is just the taking place of patriarchy, just the replication of patriarchy, like I call it patriarchy in pink, but it is not that, right? So when we're talking about matriarchy, it is circular, right? It is that Fibonacci spiral. It is nature. It is recognizing, from earth is where you come, to earth you return. And in your lifespan, you are intended to care for the earth and then the children and the people, right? All inclusive, that are around you, that are in community, and we tend to each other, and economies change and shift. All of that happens inside of matriarchy, right? Children are no longer our own legacy. They are their own legacy that we love, that we care for, that we kiss on their feet and damn near worship, because we're going to be dead and they're going to carry on. What are we offering them to carry on, right? So again, matriarchy is circular. It's not a pyramid. What it is and how it dismantles one of those pillars of supremacy culture is its power with, not power over. And that is super important to distinguish, right? And what that looks like even in your own home. I am at home with 3 children, 13. They're amazing. I have 4 kids in total, but 3 are at home. 13, 9, and 6, right? And I'm like, they are cool. Now I can have power over them. I could lord over them. That is very simple, very easy. That is patriarchal. That is a pyramid. And it means I am the overruling power and there is nothing else. I can have power with my kids. And that means that I bring them into the conversation. What would you like for dinner, as an example? Oh, all 3 of you want something different. Okay, that may not be possible tonight, maybe another night, but what can we come up with together? Okay, you know what? You could cut up the apples, you could do this, you could do that. And now we are working together as a community. And that's power with, right? They're learning that they can feed themselves, they're learning that they can make choices, they get to challenge me at home, right? Because how do you want to raise people that will challenge authority, overreaching government, but they can't talk to you, they can't challenge you? That's power with and not power over. Conversations with your spouse, hey, nothing gets underneath my skin more than somebody be like, oh, let me see if my husband will let me. Let you. All right, that's beyond the scope of my imagination. That's power over, right? That he has power over you. The difference of power with is, you know what? Hey, babe, so I was thinking about doing this on Saturday, just checking in. Did you have any plans or whatever? What are you doing? Or, hey, I'm going to be going. So you want to get some care for the kids so you could also do something? Collaboration, working together, power with each other. Nobody's saying not to consult your partner. That wouldn't be awesome, right? That's not partnership. What we're saying is that nobody is the authority over you. You have your own autonomy and agency, and coming back to that, right? So the reframe that I offer here is liberation frees men from scripts of domination, silence, and control. Way too often, it really hurts my soul to see how men are valued only based on capitalism. How much do you make? Oh, well, then you're not worth it. And it's like, well, listen, if this is going to be transactional, I just want us to remember that, sex work is work and hire professionals, right? And that's not to say, like, take on, I don't believe in struggle love either. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm not, but struggle love is beyond just finances. Are we struggling to understand each other? Are you struggling with your emotions? And not opening up men to have more value beyond financial provision is absolutely violent. And because he's placed at the top of that pyramid scheme, that violence is always going to trickle down. So when we talk about dismantling that pyramid and going back to a circular matriarchy, we allow men to also come into deep communal care. We allow men to be seen as whole people because they're whole people. I, I want my son to cry. I want my son to feel things. I want my son to have friends that are, not just boys, and that he could see girls beyond his own physical gratification, right? That is the goal here, right? To develop true connections and relationships with people, and that is what that means. So the reflection that I offer here is, what would it feel like to be valued for connection rather than control? And that's for the men to sit with, right? Like, it's such a big thing. Don't you want to be respected? Like, in a way, like, not respected from an authoritarian point of view. That's fear. And nobody's going to be scared. I'm not going to be scared. But that's not going to happen. But men, you should not want people to be scared of you. You should not want people to tremble at the idea of you walking through a room. You should not want your children walking on fucking eggshells. You should not want your women, wondering if they can make a Saturday date without talking to you. That is fear. That's not true respect. Respect is built in love. Respect is built in collaboration. Respect is built in community. Respect is built in action. Right? Like, my respect for the men in my life is because of the way they show up so deeply for their partners, for their community, for their children. Like, I look at those men and I'm like, yeah, okay, Nancy Eddie. Like, there is a love for them. There is a deep reverence and respect. And that comes from releasing the patriarchy. I can't respect men that don't take care of their children. I can't respect men that don't take care of their women. I cannot respect men who find power over someone else. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's crazy. That's an insane thought to me, when there's so many ways to actually have power with, right? And expand that power. So fellas, that reflection is for you. Ask yourself, would it feel like to be valued for connection rather than control? What would it feel like to know that you are loved and respected and revered in community because you are connecting with yourself, because you are in tune with how you feel, your emotions, because you are trying? Because believe me, look, I get it. I'm Gen X, and talking to men our age is like difficult. So we're not asking for a full flipping of a leaf, but can we see some turning as the wheel turns? Can we see you guys shifting to that, right? Can we see you guys releasing the binary of what makes you a man? Because it is also killing you. So that is that reflection for that. And the somatic support there is soft shoulder roll, exhale, and shake off being so rigid, because you are killing yourself. Okay. So I did it. I did today in my 30 minutes, and I'm super proud of it. We will see how this rollout goes with doing it on StreamYard. I kind of like it. I do not see my comments, which I absolutely love talking with you guys back and forth. So this could totally be, it may not work, because I really do like talking back and forth with you guys. But this is me trying new things, because as we grow, we try new things. So as we close, I want us to do a call to honesty. And I want us to remember that we cannot heal what we won't confront. White womanhood has to face its role as both victim and perpetrator. White manhood has to recognize that it is a trap for you as well. And I would hope that you'd want to get free. And as you guys do that work of dismantling, you free us all from the in-person violence that we are experiencing as we are watching the intra-community violence against each other, right? So I want you to ask yourself, how will you step out of innocence? How will you step out of control? How will you release the binary this week, right? In this, the link to the article will be there. It opens up some more. And I will be back on Wednesday. And I hope to see you guys. Bye.
unfake. Right.
I fit comfortably between the retro and next though. Terminator X with a Tyrannosaurus Rex flow, demonstrating how to be live and direct, so the rest can expect nothing less than perfecto. This track kinda reminds me of Tribe in the 90s. I guess I'm on a quest to align.
You can't get unfake. Right.
I fit comfortably between the retro and next though. Terminator X with a Tyrannosaurus Rex flow, demonstrating how to be live and direct, so the rest can expect nothing less than perfecto. This track kinda reminds me of Tribe in the 90s. I guess I'm on a quest to align.